Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you are all doing well. Very much excited for this one. This is a brand new resin. Brand new to you, me, and the world. This is by Elichem. We're going to get into it here. This is a biomass enhanced clear artwork resin produced with a high content of plant origin. Also has less petroleum-derived carbon and more naturally occurring carbon than any other resin in the range. The bio content is 33% in part A, 8% in part B, and it has a 40% less carbon footprint than any other conventional petroleum epoxy system. It launches at the end of July. It's not even available yet. Elichem sent me some prototype. It is in a prototype kind of bottle, so yours most likely will not look like that when you receive it, but we're going to get down to it. We're going to find out if we can use this resin for oceans, what it's like to work with, what it's like to mix, pour, and how it really responds to the ocean waves. And I was hoping today would be a good day for the ocean waves. Now, very much like the last video, I didn't go into too much detail on painting my board. We are going with a sunset ocean, another very highly requested one from you guys. This resin is a 1-to-1 measurable by weight. Now, you may have seen the labels did say 2-to-1, but again, these are just prototype bottles. They haven't yet finished the labels, and yeah, unfortunately, it did say 2-to-1, but this is definitely a 1-to-1 resin by weight after speaking to Elichem, just to confirm. I have mixed it up in my measuring cup. Now, first off, it's acting like any other resin. To be honest, I don't see a stark difference between this resin and other resins that I've used. Now, one thing I will say, it's super, super bubbly. Like most resins I use, if I don't take my time stirring, I will absolutely put bubbles in there. And I did exactly the same with this one. I didn't stir that slowly, to be honest. I was stirring for around about 5 minutes, mixing part A and part B together. Also, I knew that I was making an ocean. I knew that I would be applying a lot of heat in this project. So I really genuinely wasn't worried about the bubbles at this point. Now, if you are making something completely clear, you want it to be crystal clear resin, then I would suggest doing with this resin exactly what you do with other resins. Just stir slowly, use a silicone stick, let it sit for a while before pouring. Now, the beauty of this resin for me was that it's a 24-hour cure, like most epoxy resins that most of us start with. This is a 24-hour cure, so you have the luxury of time when it comes to work time. You can mix it up, and if you do have a lot of bubbles like I did, you can just put your cup down, let it sit there, let it sit for a good 5-10 minutes, let all of those bubbles release before you start to work with it. Alternatively, you can put part A in a hot bowl of water. I wouldn't ever do both because then you really risk everything just being too hot. Put part A in a bowl of water and let it do its thing to get rid of those bubbles. Now, I mixed it in with all of my sunset colours. Now, to the video, you saw that I painted my board in the sunset colors. That was really to prime the board and also give me some direction on color. And if there's any transparency in this resin, if the mica powders don't really take and there's any gaps, then we won't just see a plain wooden board. But so far, loving this resin. It's really nothing different. It's not like completely different to anything I've experienced before. I wouldn't say it's very high or low viscosity. It's almost like, it's definitely not thick, and it's definitely not super runny. It's kind of in the middle. So really, really nice to work with. And I had leftovers. So of course I poured a bookmark. Not sure how the ocean waves were going to really work in a bookmark, if I'm honest. But again, after applying a lot of heat, I was able to blow out all of those colours to really blend them in. And we got some gorgeous patterns in that. It was absolutely beautiful. The way it responded with the mica powder, beautiful. This is the next day and it is time for the first wave. Now, in the last video, you would have seen I recommend 3 drops of white alcohol ink to a small drop of white pigment. Now, today my bottle kind of like loads came out, basically. I went to just do 3 drops and loads came out. So I actually don't really know at this point how much alcohol ink is in this mixture, but we'll soon see. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it's all good. Remembering from the last video, I did say that, you know, some days resin does what resin wants, and despite the best efforts in the world from the top resin artists in the world, that's not me, by the way, you still can't get your ocean waves right. So it is what it is, and we're going to just call it art if it doesn't go to plan. It's all good. It's still going to look like an ocean. I found this resin super easy to use. It was really, really easy to flow. It flowed over the edges quite easily. Again, it wasn't super thick. And I mixed up my resin for my first wave. Again, got lots and lots of bubbles because I wasn't deliberately mixing slowly. I was just mixing normal pace with a wooden stick. So there are definitely ways to reduce the amount of air that you get in this. Exactly the same method as I did in the last video. So I'm laying down all of my clear with that ocean wave edge. Then I poured down my white, just kissing the edge of that clear. So you want the clear to grab onto the white like, yes, you belong to me. And it was worked perfectly. After just literally a couple of blasts from the torch, you already started to see the cells coming. So for me, this new resin was acting in a very familiar way, and I was quite confident that I was going to be able to achieve the look that I was going for. And already you can see, look how many cells are appearing here. This is when we start to apply not only the heat from the torch, but we're going to start using our heat gun to move around that resin and move our wave out. Now, I'm holding my heat gun very close to the board. I don't want a big first wave this time. So if you saw the last video, my first wave was the biggest wave. I don't want that this time because I actually don't want the sunset to disappear. I don't want all of these colors to be hidden by a larger wave. I think I'm going to put the larger wave up in the blue where I've got more luxury of space there. But so far so good, using the torch to bring out some of those cells in that wave worked a dream. There was definitely nothing I was worried about here. I wasn't using this resin thinking, this is so different. This is just not working. This is not happening for me. It really did work just about as perfectly as I could have hoped it to. The only thing I did differently in this video is that I did add a chunky white line to the edge of that wave. Now, sometimes when you blow out your waves, you lose that white impactful first line. So I did then go and add another white line in, but I didn't overwork it. I didn't put any heat on it, didn't work with it, didn't blow it. I just left it sitting there right on the edge. The resin is still wet at this point, but big thanks to Kari, one of my friends here. Kari sent me a box of shells so long ago. I want to say a year ago. I've still been staring at them. So it's finally time to use the shells that Kari sent me. And I've just drizzled on some clear resin right at the bottom of the board. I don't want clear resin to interact with my white wave. And I'm just sitting down my shells onto the clear resin. If you wanted to do your shells first and then add your wave, you absolutely could. But I'm not very good at getting that gorgeous white edge around objects. So if you lay down pebbles or stones or anything on your beach, I'm not very good at getting a good ocean wave to go around items. I hope that makes sense. So for me, I just added the shells afterwards. Now, again, this is another 24 hours later. This is the second wave, and I have decided 2 waves is all I'm giving this piece. I want this wave to be big. So very similar to before, I've laid down some clear resin. I've mixed it out again, measurable 1-to-1 by weight, mixed it up, poured it onto my board exactly where I want the edge of my wave to be. And then I'm putting a fat, juicy, white wave edge at the edge of my clear. Again, just enough so that the clear grabs it, but don't pour the white onto the dried, cured resin because it won't move. It just won't move. It won't do what you want it to do. So at this point, you want your white wave to become integral with the clear resin. And you can already see here a couple of blasts of that torch. This was definitely just 3 drops of alcohol ink because I definitely kind of did it a bit more careful this time. 3 drops of alcohol ink, 1 drop of white pigment, and I've already got these beautiful cells coming. This is what I was saying in the last video. We don't want to touch it at this point. We want to leave it for a minute or two, let it do its thing. Let those cells develop. Let that alcohol ink kind of do its thing. Now we're going to really blast it from left all the way over to the right, going really slowly so that it has a very, very equal blowout, if that is making any sense. I don't want it to be kind of like blowy in spaces and then not in other places. The bookmark, I mean, that's just a byproduct. That was just leftover resin. I don't really want to talk about it because I didn't really like it at this point. I thought that is awful, but actually it's okay. It worked out okay. I quite like it now. You just saw me there pull the board towards myself. Now, if you're not happy with your wave, it's gone too fat, it's gone too far out, you can pull the board to bring it back. So what we've got here is a much tighter wave on the beach and a much bigger, wider ocean wave on the top of the board. It's the opposite of what I did in the last video. And these cells, oh my goodness me. Now, the wave closest to the beach, I would say, is my least successful wave out of this video. I like the second wave, but it is very much a case of sometimes waves go to plan, sometimes they don't. As for the resin, absolutely perfect. It did exactly what I wanted it to do. There was nothing too scarily different about it. It was very much like working with resins I've worked with in the past, but this one has a 40% less carbon footprint. So all of the details, again, if you want to go back and look, they're all on the screen at the front of the video. As for the bookmark, now I was thinking, is this going to be super bendy, super flexible? It was pretty solid. This was after 24 hours, pretty solid bookmark. So even on a shallow pour, I think you can go up to 2 centimeters on this resin. Worked a dream. So yeah, even the bookmark that I wasn't keen on at first, it grew on me, guys. And I actually really love the way that kind of diagonal ocean wave worked out. I think it's really quite lovely. Calling out for a pair of flip-flops on the bottom of the beach. Now, what do I think of the resin? I mean, to be honest, it's done a great job. Like, it's a brand new resin to the market. Like I said, not yet available in the UK. It is coming end of July, August. So keep your eyes and your ears open for the Elichem announcement of when this resin will be available to purchase. There was nothing scary about this resin. I found it super easy to use. 1-to-1 by weight, it's about as easy as a resin gets, to be honest. The fact that it is a 24-hour cure allows you more time to work with it. And yeah, it did the job. It created beautiful ocean waves. I can't fault it. It's done exactly what I was hoping it would do. So thank you so much to Elichem for allowing me to try this out. And yeah, I've loved it. I've really, really loved it. If you are interested in this, like I said, I will link Elichem down below, but keep your eyes and your ears open because it's not yet available, which is so exciting. A brand new bio-resin coming very, very soon. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.